So we're going to be doing something a bit different where we look at replays instead of me just commentating on the match. And that's just because I kind of wanted to talk strategy a bit, and I think I can talk a bit better when I'm not also playing at the same time. So we'll see how this goes. So I can just skip past the beginning bits a bit while I talk. This video is going to be about different strategies other than just cannon ships. So, as you probably know, the current best ship to build in Fortships as it is right now is just cannons. You know, either cannons facing on one wall or cannons on both sides and just going in and killing your opponent that way. And it's simple that way because when you look at the other weapons, they're less effective in Fortships. For example, rockets, unless you're really close, it's easy for them just to dodge up and down as the rockets are coming towards you because they're so slow. And even if you get rockets on bases, these are real big bases where it's easy for them to just put gunners atop all their bases and then you're shut down. In tournament style where the team is actually coordinating. In 4v4 you can still get, like in casual matches I mean, you can still get players that won't put gunners on top of their bases for rockets, but in any sort of tournament setting, as soon as you get rockets over the bases, they just build a bunch of gunners and then it's basically shut down. Even if you're right on them, if this has all gunners and this has all gunners on the top, it's very hard to do anything that great with rockets. So, there's also like lasers and fire beams. Fire beams are actually pretty good, but since lasers are not effective, that's like 800 metal for a tech that would just be for fire beams, because lasers, if your ship is moving or if the enemy ship is moving, or even if your ship is moving firing on an enemy base that's stationary, lasers do not do very much damage at all when things are moving. And that's just Fort's code or whatever in order to fix sweeping laser or something like that probably. But just if anything's moving, if either the firing or the thing you're firing at is moving, doesn't really work. So this strategy I'm doing right now is, this is me, I'm going to grab both of these, because you see in a lot of times people won't grab these, so I'm going and grabbing my enemies. The reason you don't grab these is because, you know, it's hard to get all the way over and grab them. You know, it's hard to make like a, if this were like tournament setting, they would never have allowed me to get all the way over and grab that before doing something. So it's just, a lot of times it's not really worth it. But because it's more casual, I can grab it, and I haven't neglected, I've kind of sent the ship over while finishing building a lot of these, so I'm still doing stuff while I'm doing this. But this is probably not the best weapons you could put in here, but I just usually notice when I put a lot of rockets in here, it gets shut down pretty quick. So I do mostly shotguns so I can take out AA. You probably get away with like 3 or 4 shotguns and then the rest rockets instead of this. But you can see I can harass them pretty well, but I'm not doing that much actual damage. So I'm still going to be building my cannon ship over here. And you can see the kind of effect that has. If I had armored up a bit better, I would have spent more on this stuff that's only going to do harassment, but at least I could have protected a bit more. So I just wasn't, like, if I slow it down a bit, you could see while this is going on, I'm kind of tab E firing, so I'm not even looking here. I'm still building my cannon ship, so I don't even see these cannons come in and take this out until it's already fell down. But I still have this. So this kind of strat is, you still want to be building your cannon ship, but basically instead of just sitting around while the economy comes in and slowly building your cannon ship, what can you do with your ability to micro and stuff while this is happening? So one of the things, because if I had another smaller ship, like if I were planning on building a cannon ship and I was like, well, I could micro enough that I want to be doing something else instead of just sitting here waiting for this to build. So maybe I get like a small rocket ship or something over. But then that's too much micro, because to keep a ship aloft and especially like a small one, you would have to be dodging them and doing stuff. So I think the bases can be a good way to, and then I got 320s over here again while still building up my cannon ship. These can be a good way to be able to do some damage in micro, while most of the time you can still focus on your cannon ship, since you don't have to do much to keep these alive. Like if they fire on this, it's dead anyway, basically, since it's just single door. And that could come into how much should you invest in these little things, because if you spend, how do I want to word this? If your main goal is to build a cannon ship, because these will probably never really take out bases. If they're any good, they can protect their bases from just these little things, usually. So if you want to, you probably shouldn't like go full 3-door on each, full armor on these. But at the same time, you saw how easy it was for him to just take out this. So there's probably a happy medium where you can armor this up a bit and probably don't get as many weapons as I had, and then it can still be some harassment and micro while you could build your cannon ship. And I imagine there's even some stuff you could do, like maybe if you get AP snipers here, you can use your micro while not spending that much metal, so that you can still spend most of your economy building your cannon ship, but you can get away with harassing them with the, AP snipers or something like that take more micro while this is going. So it's an interesting thought how best to use your APM, actions per minute, instead of just sitting around waiting for your cannon ship to come out. This probably isn't a great example. Like, they could have defended this easily and I lost one real quick, and they already, I kind of am fast forwarding through so you don't see everything, but I lost I'm sure it wasn't much that took this out, since it's only a single door. I forget. But, I still just turn over and do my cannon ship. But this probably shouldn't have worked. But it's just, I'm playing casually and I was just having fun, so I built a bunch of shotguns and rockets and stuff. But the main thing in this little strategy I'm talking about is just what can you do to be able to use your actions per minute while you're sitting around for cannon ships. So maybe grabbing these bases could be worth it. Although really it does take a lot of economy even just to get the small little, like this type of ship up that I use to grab these. So it's probably not worth it, but it's interesting to discuss strategy, especially if the meta ever changes. You want to be ready to be able to do something other than just build a cannon ship. So we'll also look at this one. And this one is a similar thought, just what other strategies could be viable other than just straight cannon ships. So what I said about rockets not being viable, they probably aren't, but this is my attempt at making them more viable, I guess you could say. Teammates bomb and stuff in this round, so this probably isn't the best replay to show, because I don't know, a lot of other stuff happens. But I guess I'll just kind of skip forward until I have my stuff. So I'm just building this rocket ship, and I'm not armoring it up very well. There probably are different schools of thought about how well should you armor up something like this. Rockets are cheap, so how worth it is it to put more doors on it? And if you spent this time triple dooring each rocket, that probably, by that time they'd have lots of cannons and stuff out. So I don't know. It's just things to think about. So rocket ships, basically, if there were any cannon ships or anything up here, this would I'd just be dodging and going towards them, because rocket ships can be good when you're point blank range, because that's the only time it's hard for them to dodge and it's hard for AA. So the idea with this is get a rocket ship, get it into their bases like this, and start firing. So that way, imagine there were a cannon ship that they had out that wanted to now come deal with you. They would have to get down to your level, unless they, like, you know, tilted and fired down on you or something weird. But when you're in the air and I have a rocket ship here and a cannon ship here, they can easily dodge and they're doing damage on you. They have all the advantages. So the only way to make a rocket ship more viable is to just get in close range. And, you know, if you start trying to follow their cannon ships, like go up and down and do their cannon ships, they still have advantage, because you can't fire these rockets while you're moving fast up and down, or else you'll hit yourself. I'm sure some of you probably have experienced that, where you're going really fast up and you shoot your rockets and they just, you know, self-destruct because, you know, this strut is moving up and the rocket spawns here, and so that hits that. Simple physics. But if you can get in amongst the bases, and you'd probably want to have at least one shotgun on each side or something, because it probably wouldn't have been that hard for them to AA and stop this. But the idea being, the main idea being, if you can get a rocket ship in close and force them to come to you, that's probably your best chance to be able to use a rocket ship. So you just need to build it, get it out quick, get it in amongst them, so that if they have a cannon ship or whatever that has to come down to deal with you, you can be point blank range to them. You know, you have the maneuverability to move side to side, get close to them, and they have to come down to attack you. And especially, like, these rockets in single door, they probably have a really good arc of fire, right? They could fire up on this diagonal or something. So as they come down, you could probably hit them before they can even hit you. So stuff to think about. So that's my just two strategies that might be semi-viable. If I were in a tournament or something, I'd still just cannon ship, because that's what works. That is what works. That sounded weird. I think I said something weird. But possibly, if you're going to try a rocket ship, you need to know how to play it. If you're sitting back, you're never going to be able to use it. The only way to use a rocket ship is to get in close, you know, make it so any AA they have is ineffective, because you're at point blank range anyway. That's the only way you're going to do it. And so I think rocket ship strategies, you kind of have to just ignore whatever ships they have out, try to speed past them, you know, have a lot of maneuverability, so you can just dodge their cannon ships and go straight for their bases. Because otherwise, if you're ship to ship in a rocket ship versus a cannon ship, chances are you're just going to lose. That's just, they have more firepower, they can dodge your rockets. But if you get in amongst their bases, you can start harassing their bases, doing heavy damage, and then they have to come down to you. And point blank, rockets are better than cannons in most cases, because just for the cost, they can do more damage, point blank range. And then, yeah, the other match was just maybe grab these and try to be able to use your micro to harass them while building up your cannon ship, would be another idea. Bombs could probably work too, but, you know, maybe there's some strat out where you rush fire beams and get some fire beams down here and harass them with that or something. But basically, cannons are still really only the most viable thing. I can imagine you can get a ship with just all shotguns. If you can get it out early before they start meddling or something, you might be able to take them by surprise and just chunk into their core. But that's just me spitballing other possible strategies. The main ones I went over are cannon ship, rocket ship, get in amongst them, and maybe grab these and try to use your ability to focus on this while just waiting for your cannon ship to get up. But that, you have to be paying attention to two things at once, so that's an iffy strategy, but just things to think about. See ya.